everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fashion Grunge podcast. I am Lauren.
I'm Jai. Hi.
And I'm Jules. Hello.
Hey, there's three of us today, and we're going to be talking about Interview with the Vampire. I'm really super excited to talk about this.
Ow!
It's one of my favorite movies, and God, I think this might be one of those, you know how now people talk about what was your sexual awakening? It probably was this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Because I was really young and I was just like, who are these men? I love them. I want to be their daughter, but I also love them too. This is odd. Because I was like, I want to be Kirsten Dunst, but then they're so great. But yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this one. So how are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this movie. This is this is the vampire movie.
It kind of is.
Mm-hmm. This one and Queen of the Damned are my two favorite.
Oh yeah, that's
movies.
right.
Queen of the Damned is actually my I have watched that movie so many times.
Have you really?
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. It used to just be on Logo all the time, every Thursday. I'd watch that shit weekly.
Wow. That's so crazy.
It's just so cheesy. I think that's why I love it.
I never watched it.
You haven't, Jai?
No.
Oh, damn. You should watch it.
Really?
I don't know if you would like it. It's kind of campy vampire. But, I don't know.
Aaliyah is, incredible.
Yeah, Aaliyah's in it. The singer.
Oh, yeah. Probably not my thing.
Jai's just no. I'm okay, no, don't watch it then. I was going to say Blade is also another great vampire, blockbuster. The one with, Wesley Snipes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Steven Dorff. And they had, three, but the first one was the best one. I didn't see the other two, but the first one was super good. The Matrix. The first one's the best one. Those last two are, garbage. But in any case, and they're remaking it again.
Oh, no.
I know, yeah. They also were going to remake Interview with the Vampire, I heard, and they wanted Jared Leto to play Lestat, and I was like, hold on. No.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Jared Leto's good. He can pull off some roles, but why does he need to do this?
Yeah.
For what reason?
So they're not doing it then?
I don't think so. I think Anne Rice just said that Anne Rice herself, I think, actually said, I would want Jared to play Lestat. I was like, well, he is a vampire because he looks 25. So that would be the only real reason to have him play him, because obviously Tom Cruise is way too old to be an immortal vampire. So, but yeah, it's super weird. I don't think they're going to do it though. I think it was just something that they said a few years ago. But
Cillian Murphy would do well, I think.
Yeah,
as
he
a
looks
vampire.
really young too.
Not really. I don't think so anymore.
I think he looks pretty youthful, his skin, and he has that chiseled face.
He does, and beautiful
vampire
eyes and bony structure. Just dreamy.
You love Cillian Murphy.
I do.
He is a babe. He's definitely a babe.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I like him in Peaky Blinders. But yeah, how are you guys all doing? Just, I guess we're easing restrictions around the country. So I was out today. I kind of don't like going out anymore, but, it's whatever.
I bought 10 really cute face masks that you can put filters in.
Oh,
and I just love this new era of fashion accessory. That's the way I'm looking at it at this point. It's it's going to be necessary, so I'm going to make it into a fashion accessory.
That's true.
It is a bit uncomfortable though to wear them for
yeah, it's hot.
I had to say I went out to interact with other humans besides Matthew on Tuesday, and I walked there and I wore the mask for 40 minutes on the way there, and it was just so uncomfortable. It wasn't even the hottest day, and it was just just hard to wear a mask when it's
yeah,
when it's hot.
And, it's definitely gonna be worse in June or July when it's proper summer.
In August.
But yeah, it was the first time I went out. I was with I basically went to this house to meet up with two people for a job, and we all wore gloves and masks, and it was just so surreal.
Is it weird? Yeah, because you've seen one of them without it, so you're like, this is weird that I'm now seeing you again with all this stuff on.
And also, it was just, basically he parked on that street just off Connecticut Avenue, and so it's like a really nice neighborhood, and his car is a bit beat up. So this lady was doing like some gardening or something outside, and I get it, it must be quite scary to see two people who you don't know.
Yeah, like wearing
masks and sunglasses. Both of us had I mean, I had a pink mask and black shades, but he had black mask, a all black outfit and sunglasses, and she was very concerned.
Really?
We said hello, and and I thought, you know what?
Sounds badass.
Well,
sounds like yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it, later on, everyone is going to be wearing masks, and you basically won't be able to see their face, so it will be easy to like commit crimes.
Do anything, yeah.
Because they can't, you go into a shop with a mask, they can't see your face, So that's the first time that I thought about it, really, because of that incident. But also just being in a house with other people, and having to work. This is going to be the new way,
for quite a while. Until the wide vaccine.
I get it. Like, I'll be dealing with like touching clothes and like dressing a model and stuff. So I have to wear rubber gloves for like the whole day.
Or give it to the model and then tell them to put it on. Like,
but I think just to be safe, I think she will feel safer as well if she sees me like protected.
Oh, with the gloves,
but it was really uncomfortable, and that was only like a couple of hours. I can't imagine working for 7 hours wearing a mask and gloves.
Yeah, that's true. It's really, it's a lot. It's really crazy to think all this is going to be for
the new norm.
Yeah, for a while. I mean, hopefully not forever. So,
Yeah, I think Virginia is making it like, I thought this was already a thing, but I think they're now making it like a requirement. If you're in public, you have to have a mask, and if you don't, you can get fined.
Oh, you can actually get fined. I don't think DC has a fine policy. I think it's just like don't
quote me on it, because I don't want to be wrong.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I hope that people... I was out today, and I went to Trader Joe's, and you had to have a mask before going in.
Oh, yeah.
It was on the... And then right before you go in, it was really good, because I hadn't been to one since all this happened, and they had, letting people into the store, like you guys were saying. And it was actually better to shop that way than normal.
I told you.
Because, it's true, because Trader Joe's is usually madhouse all the time.
They only allow 30 people at a time, and you have so much space, and it's just so nice to shop that way.
It actually is,
yeah. So I'm glad
that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But restaurants, I heard on the radio that they were talking about, one woman was saying that she was gonna have to spread the tables out so far, so she would lose half of her dining space.
Oh,
and then so she won't be making as much as even just having it open regularly. But then I was like, but still, you can't wear a mask while you're eating. So, I'm not going to sit at a table at a restaurant and there are people 6 feet away, which apparently still is not enough distance. And they're all talking. And there are people on all sides of me. That's still, takeaway, cool. But, restaurants, I don't know how it's going to be. If people are going to go out, I don't know. I think they're lifting things this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely weird to see that a lot of people don't seem that concerned. I saw a lot of people on Memorial Day at this restaurant. Gosh. We got barbecue. I went to pick it up and it wasn't ready, so I waited outside. But there were about 12 people inside the restaurant waiting, and only 3 of them had a mask on.
Oh, wow.
And I was just so shocked, and it made me feel really uneasy about getting food from there, because 2 people in the kitchen weren't wearing a mask either.
Oh, they weren't?
No. And I just thought, I can't believe there's even a family of 5 waiting by the door, by the main entry, without a mask. The parents and 3
none
kids.
Of them?
None of them. Wow. No gloves, no masks. And they were just walking next to people very closely. It's very strange to see that. People are not concerned, but
Yeah, I guess we'll never, I guess we just don't know.
Anyway, let's talk about vampires.
Yeah, let's talk about vampires.
Because humans suck right now.
Yeah, honestly. I wouldn't mind being a vampire.
The vampire of the United States. Capitalism.
I would not mind being a vampire. Oh, what are you guys' first thoughts? It's 1994. That's the vibe. That's when it came out. what is it like? What's the first time you saw it? Jai, you can go first.
So I honestly don't remember when I first watched it. I just don't remember at all. But I must have been 12 or 13, maybe, I suppose. And I knew Brad Pitt and like Tom Cruise, obviously, because I've been like watching their movies from a very young age. Because my dad loved like all those films that Tom Cruise did in the 80s. And so I just loved the cast. I knew Antonio Banderas and obviously Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and then didn't know Kirsten Dunst because that was like her debut, right?
I think so. I think she might have done some things as a kid, but yeah, I didn't know her. I'm pretty sure that was.
But I mean, I watched it and I just thought this is like amazing. You have these incredible actors, this girl who's like so young and so talented, and I love the story. I thought it was just so well done. I mean, obviously at the time, whether you know, but it just didn't feel like a silly movie in a weird way. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it felt like a serious film. And even now, I rewatched it the other day, and it's not like a silly, ridiculous film. I just think it's like really incredible, and it's a really I'm sure there's lots of vampire films, but it just feels different, really. And it was one of the first ones, like I seen like modern times, obviously, because
have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one that from like '92 with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder and Gary Oldman? That one's like serious.
I did not like that. It was really intense, especially like
that was kind of weird, but it wasn't like camp. It was a little campy, but it wasn't like the other ones that are kind of ridiculous. So when did this come out again? I can't remember. 94.
How old were we?
11.
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. So I must have watched it like just after it came out. But that's the only thing I remember, really.
Cool. What about you, Jules?
Well, considering I was like born that year, I did not see it until a very long time after. So like, yeah, my first, just talking about Kirsten Dunst, is like my first introduction to her was of all movies, Bring It On. And
no way, really?
That's a really funny movie for
that's
that
a great
your
film.
first
great
like Kirsten Dunst, experience. And
wow.
And then, by that time, she was doing films like Spider-Man and stuff like that. And so I didn't see this movie until maybe like after that, maybe like 2008. So it was like well over 10 years old at that point.
Oh, okay.
And so I was maybe like 14, 15 when I saw it. And I just thought it was really good storytelling. Like, that's what I love so much about it is, like, that's the whole premise of the movie is, like, it's, this vampire giving an interview with this journalist. And, like, I just think it's really good storytelling. That's my favorite
it is.
Thing about it.
It's a super compelling story, like, from the beginning. I feel like you're just automatically, like, super into it. Mm-hmm. At least I was.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you've been thinking now about how they were sort of the hottest actors of that decade, really.
I think Brad Pitt was relatively, like, still on the come up. But Tom Cruise was definitely, like...
He had done quite a few films by then,
He did, like, Legends of the Fall, I think was, like, the more recent thing that he'd done. Thelma and Louise was 91. So people knew him from that, because that's what he really blew up. At least here is when he blew up. And yeah, I guess, and also right after this is where we get like Seven, Brad, because right after this he did Seven with David Fincher.
Yeah.
When did he do that movie with Angelina Jolie?
Which one?
Oh, that was like 2000.
Mr.
Or like 2000.
I think that was 2005.
Yeah.
2005.
That's really sort of...
The Mr. and Mrs. Smith one, right? Not the one that they did, like, by the sea where their marriage is imploding.
Yeah,
That was, like, 15 or 16? That was a weird movie.
That was
super weird. But, so they were, like, I think Tom Cruise was, like, the big pull-in, though.
He was,
because he's on the cover of, like, the poster of the film. It's, like, it's Tom Cruise. So I think it's, like, they kind of were, like, which is really interesting too, because the book and the film is told in Louis' perspective. So it's really interesting that like Lestat is the one that's on the cover.
Well, I suppose he was the biggest star at the time.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is. That's why. But it's just so interesting to like when you actually see the film, you're like, oh, Lestat's like he's a big part of it, but it's basically Louis' story.
It is, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Kind of that.
So yeah, it's interesting that he's not on the cover at all, but it's really cool. I saw this movie, I think I was like 13 or 14, something like that. I already went into it. I love Tom Cruise. I love Brad Pitt. So, and Kirsten Dunst is one of my faves too. I really like her, so...
Yeah, even watching her, you think she was so young and to play that role. And like also the stuff that she was saying, that the dialogue, like it's unclear. Like, does she love Louis like in a romantic kind of way? But then it's also like her father figure, and like it's a bit.
It's fucked up, but it's such a tragedy, and like you really feel for her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, especially because the way she was intentionally, like, created was just out of manipulation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and actually he says it. I mean, Tom Cruise, we're getting into the story now, but Tom Cruise actually says to Louis, like, oh, Louis was going to leave me, and then I made you and I made him stay. And then he looks at him and he's like, you're a fiend. Like, I know what you did. You knew it because I could never leave her. Mm-hmm. And I was going to leave, and now you're like, trying to convince me to stay. And he was like, yep, pretty much. Like, I was like, oh, God. Well, yeah, it's just nuts. I guess we can get into the story. I have some behind-the-scenes notes. Really interesting thing is River Phoenix was supposed to play Christian Slater's role as the journalist. And unfortunately, he died 4 weeks before they started filming it. So
that's crazy.
Super sad. But awesomely, Christian Slater donated his salary for this film to a lot of River Phoenix's favorite charities, which is really awesome. I was talking to Jai earlier about it, but Anne Rice, obviously the author of the book, was not excited when they wanted to put Tom Cruise as Lestat because I guess his previous movie history, and she was like, what? No, like this is never going to work. And then she saw the performance and she was like, oh my gosh, I was totally wrong, and like apologized for it. So that's really
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome because I wouldn't think Tom Cruise either. Even if you showed this movie to somebody who'd never seen it and you tell them Tom Cruise is in it and they're like, it's a movie about 18th century vampires and Tom Cruise is in it. And you're like, yeah, Tom Cruise is in it. Like, trust me, it's good. Like, I feel like people would still be like, what? And then when they see it, they're like, oh, wow. Yeah, that is Tom Cruise. Like, I kind of forget it's him sometimes because he just doesn't look like he usually looks anyway. But
he really just goes into the character,
Yeah.
Like, it definitely doesn't feel like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he usually played that kind of like all-American, like, good time guy and, had this kind of, I guess he was serious, but also kind of funny, but this was like total. Just completely different.
Yeah, and also you think about it, he never plays like the bad guy. He's only been like sort of
That's true.
Kind of a bad guy in like Collateral and this film. But besides that, he's always like
That's true, he's always like the star
and a hero or like some kind of like Mission Impossible and stuff like that. But he's really great as a baddie. I love him.
As a baddie?
I love that.
Oh my god, I love it. The budget was $70 million, which is a fuck ton of money, even now. So, yeah, and they also filmed in like New Orleans, London, San Fran, and in Paris. So
amazing.
Alone, all that traveling, I'm sure just cost so much money. And costumes and everything. But yeah, I guess, do you guys have anything else? Has anyone else researched anything about it? Ooh,
I found
what do you have?
Really interesting.
What do you have?
Which is kind of funny at the same time. I find it funny that Brad Pitt was interviewed about the film, and he said that he was actually quite down while making the film, and even tried to buy himself out of the contract at one point because it was basically like the production was like huge, right? And they had to do all this travel, and he was in London in the middle of winter, which sent him into a depression.
Oh,
and it's
yeah, and they shoot at night a lot.
Yeah, and also the thing is, the reason why I think it's funny is because it just shows, like he's just from a completely different part of the world. Like he's not used to the weather, and the UK, like London in winter, it gets dark at 4 p.m. And it's also really cold, especially back then. This is before like climate change was like as bad as it is now. So you did have like in really insane winters. Like now it's a lot warmer. It doesn't even snow that much, but back then it was like intense. So it's interesting that he was really sort of depressed because of the weather in a way. Just find it really dark. He said he actually said 6 months of fucking darkness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, he lived like a vampire, like a true vampire.
Yeah, he did. This is the downside of my eventual plan to move to Iceland, is that I hope that all my friends in the wintertime will come see me through my 22 hours of darkness, but it'll be fine.
There's 22 hours of darkness in Iceland?
Yeah, in the wintertime, because they're way up almost near the North Pole.
Yeah, you don't see the sun that often.
It's really nuts, yeah. My friend who lives there, he's always like, we just drink and lots of babies are born in September. He's like, so, what else would you do? I was like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, what else would you do? He's like, yeah, just drink, and it's freezing, too. It's not like it's hot. Yeah. So it's freezing. It's not even, like, nice out. So it's like, that's really weird. But you have, like, the Northern Lights and stuff. I mean, there's a trade-off. I would take Northern Lights, like...
Yeah, honestly.
I don't care about darkness. Eventually, the summer, it's the opposite. It's, like, 22 hours of daylight, So that's... another kind of like, it must be so weird to grow up like that, where that's just your app, like you just know that as the time, and the time just has a totally different meaning to you, and just must be so crazy.
I would like to experience something like that, not forever, but just like try it out.
I think it's a really safe place to go in case everything goes to hell.
That's true.
I feel like they might be like have their shit together.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, but I do think it's like, well, it is a real thing to be like totally depressed because of the weather. Like
that is
you
true.
hear it so much, like when you live there, people, it's like it sounds like an excuse, but it's like a real thing. People saying,
Seattle's the same way.
I'm not doing well, I'm just really under the weather, because it's just so cold, it's really dark, and like it's 3 p.m. and it's already dark, so people actually get sick from it. I'm not joking. Like it's in school, like it's really common to sometimes be sent home because you're like,
oh wow,
you're like not doing that well, and it's just funny really to think that it's just so different from living in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. And I guess he was, I don't know how old he was during this movie. Tom Cruise was 32, because I was just watching an interview with him, and they were like, Tom Cruise, 32, and I was like, damn, he's 32 in this? And then, so Brad Pitt, they were around the same age, so maybe a little younger, maybe he's like 30, 29, 30, something like that. But, which is super interesting. But yeah, I just have like some notes on the plot point. I really love the beginning. I love the credits of this film, really, because I feel like we don't really get credits anymore. At least I feel like it's pretty rare for some films now. I can't remember any where I've seen any credits that have been recent. I feel like a lot of films now just start, and then credits are usually just on the back end. But I guess it just depends like which films you watch. But I love the credits winding through San Francisco. I mean, I love San Francisco. It's obviously looks totally different now, but it's just, I love the way they wind and then lead up to the room, and then you're just like, yeah, I really love how that, like, the atmosphere of where they are. Mm-hmm. And just hearing about, I just love when he just shocks him and he's like, I'm a vampire. Like, so what do you do? Like, like, what's your job? He's like, so cool. Like, what's your job? And he's like, I'm a vampire. He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, you're going to, like, kill me? And he's like, well, yeah, I was. But now I'm just going to tell you the story of, like, these 200 years of my life. And he's like, what? I mean, everything Christian Slater does, I'm just like, oh my God, I would, obviously, this is me. I would be like, holy shit, this is crazy.
I didn't know who he was until Mr. Robot.
Really?
I just never knew him.
Have you not seen Heathers?
Yeah, but I didn't even realize that it was the same actor, because he was really young, and like, it's not you don't really know him. Like, it's not. I guess he's just been in so many like American films, and like it's not the sort of thing that you watch in the UK. I just didn't know who he was. Like, I knew he was a big deal because everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's Christian." I was like, I don't know who that is. Like, yeah,
That's
but yeah,
so
he's cute.
He looks the same.
He does, actually.
Yeah, he still looks like pretty similar. He's in a new thing coming up that I really want to see. It's like that Dirty John, you know, like the podcast, but there's like a second, it's like a real true crime story, but he's doing the second TV adaptation, and it's on like the Betty Broderick story. And it's like this famous case of this woman who, I think she shot her husband and his new wife, like his second wife, because she's the first wife. And anyway, he's playing the husband that she kills, but apparently it's like a crazy story, and that's apparently coming on. So I kind of want to see that. And he produced Mr. Robot too.
He did? Oh no!
Yeah, from the beginning, which I thought was really cool. Yeah.
I missed that. I think I must have seen in the credits, but I forgot. That's great.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's so cool. He was producing it, so that was really neat. But yeah, I just love, and then I love how you were introduced to Louis' world. Granted, he has a plantation, which is problematic, yes, but this is the time. And it's just immediately, you just feel so much for him because he's lost his wife and his child, and he's like 27. I mean, I think he's pretty young, 27, 28. And he just has this, like, he just is almost like a zombie, like floating through life. And then you kind of see that throughout his evolution. And then you see when obviously Lestat sees him for the first time, and I guess he can sense that this guy, and I think he sees him kind of just like cheat death and be like, whatever, fuck it, I don't care. And then he just like finds him, and he's like, oh nice, there's someone who like, you know, is like kind of interesting. And then he just bites him, and he gives him a choice, and which is really interesting that he never had a choice. Lestat never did, but he kind of gives him a choice, and then comes back, and it's all super homoerotic. It's very like, you know, does he want a partner? Does he like, is this a romantic thing? Is this literally just a hunting partner? Like, how is this? And
I love sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, go for it.
But I like love the mystery of that. Like, I think that's just like the traditional like vampire mystique is like, it's like the sexualness, and yeah, you never really know where like the line is with the vampire.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, what I really like as well was that you don't. I feel like you see sex in all films now. I mean, even back then, like sex sells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but there isn't ever that in the film. I mean, there is like. It's all very abstract. Like, you don't really know if they're partners, and even when they like kill women, they don't even have sex with them. They just like kill them, and I quite like that because it's really rare to watch a film that doesn't involve any sex scenes. Like, you know, especially like you could have really gone wild with vampires.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Topic, you know,
and they keep it classy.
Yeah, because even like the one.
The
Dracula,
Bram Stoker one. Yeah, that
was
one
like
was
really
weird.
intense.
Yeah,
like,
that one was like kind of sketch.
Yeah.
Like,
so I really like that. I feel like it's great that they didn't feel the need of having that as part of the story, and you know, it was successful as well without that. It's cool.
And it's also interesting note too is that Anne Rice, I think, because she was concerned with Hollywood's homophobia, she was thinking that she might have to make Lestat female in order to have like a woman kind of show Brad Pitt, you know, and like Louis, and like for that to be like a quote unquote like normal situation. But then she was just like, no, like it's supposed to be a man and another man, like that's how it's gonna be, you know, like that's the way the story went. And could you imagine if it was the other way around? I mean, it would definitely not have been this. So
yeah,
thank goodness. Like, thank goodness. But yeah, I just love the way they meet for the first time. And that whole thing where they're like, when he bites him and they're flying up in the air, I was like, what is this? This is crazy. I was like, this is insane. And yeah, and also Thandie Newton cameo. Brad Pitt and Thandie Newton used to date, I would assume.
Oh,
yes.
they did?
Yeah, they did.
Know that.
Yeah, and I think they met on this film because I I think it was like briefly. There's a few photos floating around.
She's so beautiful.
I know. She also looks the same.
She looks the same.
I mean, she looks obviously very young in this, but she looks pretty much the same. Like, not that different. And then I love how just Lestat just like moves into Louis's house. Like, he just kind of like sets up, and he's like, okay, it's kind of becoming like a parent-child relationship at first, because he's like teaching him.
Yeah.
And he's like teaching him all about like how to hunt. This is what I do. And then he, you know, they go to that society function where they're like walking around with all those like, with that woman who has the 2 dogs.
Oh,
but then when Louis now realizes, and he's like learning more and more from Lestat, he's like, wait, we don't have to kill people. Like, we can just kill animals and still live. So there's like that kind of interesting in there.
Yeah, I think that makes him more admirable, that he refuses to, like, I don't know, he wants to go against what he is, you know. He doesn't want to kill people, and he kills rats or eats rats instead. I don't know, it just makes him cooler.
Yeah, you can like relate to him and feel sympathy for him in that case.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of what, like, Louis's conscience really plagues him like throughout the entire film, and he doesn't enjoy hunting. Like, Lestat's like a cheetah, like he's on it, you know, like he's kind of like, what do you not get about this? Like, we're vampires, and Louis kind of like, well, why are we deciding like who lives and dies?
Yeah.
You know, like, we're not like, you know, juries. We're not, you know, we don't have to do this. And he's just kind of like, whatever. You know, like, I can't deal with you. And then Louis is like really just super conflicted. I feel like I think once he learns that, he like torches the house, because he's just like, I'm this evil thing. I shouldn't be allowed to live. Like, we should be in hell. Like, he's just in this really deep, dark place. Almost even worse now that he's become a vampire versus when he was a human and living in this kind of zombie-like way when he's lost a lot of his family. So now he's just, or all of his family really. So now he's just like, he's freed all of his slaves, and he's like, I'm out. Like, burns the house. Tom Cruise like runs in, or Lestat like runs in, which I thought was really funny, where he's like, why are you burning everything we have? And I was like, this is his house. Like, you just moved in. Like, and he's like, oh God, he's like, you're so hopeless, and just drags him off to a sewer. And then he's just like, that's when it kind of becomes clear that like Louis can't really be controlled now. And Lestat is kind of like searching for like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to keep him with me? Otherwise he can just kill animals and just leave me. And then that's when Claudia comes in. And she's just like, yeah, it's super cruel what happens. But what did you guys think about her entrance?
I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes. Like, you mean when they make her?
Yeah, Like, like when you first see her.
I mean, everything that happens from the moment he finds her, it's incredible, because he sees her there with her dead mom, then sort of, you know, leaves her half dead, I suppose. Then she's at the house, and she's turned into a vampire, and then I love visually how her hair changes and everything. It just looks so beautiful. And then as soon as she like wakes up, and she's like, I don't think she says, you're my daddy now, or something like that. Like, kind of like, Louis, are you, something like along the lines, are you my father, or something. And then when Lester does the kills that woman for her, she's like, I want more, I want some more. And he's like, no, you can't, well done, you didn't even get a drip of blood. Like, she's just like a really good student, and she's just really sweet and like cute at the same time, but she's like a vampire. I don't know, it's weird. You can't dislike her, you know? It's
no.
There's just like this just innocence of her that you see throughout the whole movie, and even when she is growing older, but you know, she still looks like a 12-year-old, like you still feel for her.
Yeah, it gets worse. Like, I know, I love when they show, like, how she evolves and how, she kills, like, just everybody.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of, like, tell her, like, okay, no, not the seamstress, not in the house, like, all these rules, because she's, like, a child. Like, when you teach a child to do something, they're going to do it all the time, everywhere. You have to tell them, like, where to do it, where not to do it, all that kind of stuff. So it's, like, they're parenting, but then they're, like, hunting on a whole other level. And I'm assuming that Louis at this point is just, he's kind of background, because it seems like Lestat is like, I'm going to train her, because Louis he doesn't enjoy killing.
Yeah.
But it seems like there are killing people at this point, because she does make that comment, like, when did you eat rats? Like,
oh, yeah.
and he's like,
oh, a long time
yeah,
ago.
A long time ago. So I'm like, well, then they're all obviously, like, hunting people together, because they're not, eating rats anymore. So, but yeah, I thought that was funny when she's like, rats? When did you eat rats?
But also, it's quite funny when Lestat finds them and he picks up her dead mom and dances with her.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It shouldn't be funny, but it is, because he's like, I knew it. I knew that you will give in, sort of thing. And then he's just dancing with this, like, corpse. And
I know.
He's just brilliant as a vampire, like Tom Cruise.
I know, he's really funny, too.
He is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's, like, funny on top of, just being, like, a horrible, like, killer, essentially. And, I love Claudia's whole story, and especially, like, when her and Louis decide to, like, get rid of Lestat, and they just decide to, like, kill him. And
the thing is, they didn't decide together. She just did it. And
and he just kind of stood there because he's not going to do anything. Like, Louis is like, well, okay, like, let's get out of here. And then they leave.
Yeah, and I always wonder, like, how does a young, like, child actor does that? Because it must be, like, psychologically, like, you're killing someone. Whether it's acting or not, it still must be hard for someone to act like they're killing someone else, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And when you're that young, like, I just think she did an amazing job, and it's sort of quite impressive that she's not messed up, like.
I'm surprised she didn't get, like, an Oscar nomination for this, because it's like
I think she was nominated for, like, a Golden Globe or something.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's
something like that. I don't think she won, but I think she was nominated.
That's pretty good, yeah. Because there's that girl, Anna Paquin, who won that Oscar when she was, 10.
For The Pianist?
Yeah, the piano,
Yeah, piano film, yeah.
Which I think was probably around the same time, right? It was like 90s? It was like early mid-90s, yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was... And then so Lestat in the story is gone, and then they go to Paris, which is like its own film, really. Like when they meet Armand, who is Antonio Banderas, and they meet this weird troupe of, like, performance actor vampires that live in, like, a catacomb, essentially, like, underneath Paris. And what did you guys think of that whole sector of the story?
That's just when Brad Pitt and Kirsten Dunst, they go off on their own life together, correct? Mm-hmm. I love that, because there's just this, like, brief point in time where, like, they both look genuinely happy in their, like, very sad, dark vampire lives.
Mm-hmm. It was true.
And then, like, yeah, shit goes down.
Yeah. And then it's super tragic. These I didn't like those vampires from the start. I was like,
I don't remember those vampires for some reason. I'm, like, getting blocked out. I just remember when they go to the theater.
That's what I mean. Like, the actors, like Antonio Banderas and all of the people that live underground.
Oh,
like all those are all the vampires. Mm-hmm. And then Antonio Banderas essentially is, like, trying to lure Louis in to, like,
that's right,
stay with him, and kind of, like, and I was like, no, Louis, don't be codependent anymore. Just take off. You don't need these people. But then, they take Claudia, and I also forgot that they turned that woman. Remember, there's, like, a woman who's a little bit, I think she's obviously, like, more Louis' age, I guess. I think. Mm-hmm. But she tells Louis that, like, she's like, where am I going to go? Like, who's going to be with me once you leave me? Because she thinks that he's going to leave her. And that's why she's like, make me a companion. So he makes this woman.
Oh, that's right.
And then those two are the ones that, like, these vampires that are, like, that do this theater, they, like, put them in that room, and they die. Like the sun gets them, and then Louis's like, I mean, again, we see Louis completely unravel, like he has been before, and he just sets the whole place on fire. I mean, where they all live underground, and then he's just, you know, off back again to the new world essentially, and then time passes. And then the best part of the story is that he's back in New Orleans, and it's like, it's current day now. So he talks about like the evolution, how he can see sunrises again through film and, you know, movie theaters. That's such a
beautiful, I love that scene so much.
Yeah, I do too. It's really cool. And it's interesting to see, like, first it was black and white, and then you see he was like, then it's in color, and then it was purples and pinks, and like, you know, it all like comes back to him. And then he like thinks he smells this weird smell, and then he goes into this old abandoned house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's fucking Lestat back from the dead. And he's like, oh my God.
Looking gnarly.
And he's like super like decrepit and like all like, you know, super weak and everything. And he's just like, I just love that whole exchange.
Yes.
Right there. It's like, it's one, like, it was listed, I put it as one of my favorite scenes, but the whole end of the film, like from the New World on, I just love this whole end.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, you know, don't you remember like what I used to be like? Like, you know, like when I was this like powerful vampire and I made you, and, you know, it's like very much like running into an old relationship, like running into an old person that you had this deep relationship with.
He felt
definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, because he was just like, don't you remember, like, you know, you kept resisting, and then I really wanted you, and like it's just very like, you know, he just kind of is, you know, and then he's just, even Lestat is just like, after what happened to him, he still feels this way towards Louis, and you know, Louis was involved in what happened. I mean, so he's just like, yeah, I mean, like almost like he was like his one true, I don't even know if it's a love, but in that sense, kind of like a soulmate, I guess, even like someone that was just very different to him that kind of balanced him out, I think, because obviously he couldn't be with someone just like him. Couldn't be two Lestats running around. I mean, that just wouldn't.
That would be kind of mayhem.
Yeah, I don't think they would like, probably wouldn't hang out together. They probably would just be in constant competition. But and then we get to like, you know, Louis just like, you know, I've evolved. You know, I'm done. Like I'm past it. And just he leaves, and then we're back in San Francisco, and like that's how it wraps up. And this whole thing has just been like a memory that Christian Slater's listening to on multiple tapes, and then Louis just gone, and he's like, Christian Slater's like, what? Whoa, I cannot believe this. And then the best part is when he's like listening to all the tapes back, and then freaking Lestat just pops out of the car. And he's like, oh God. And he's like, he's still whining. God. And he's like, oh God, I didn't want to have to listen to this. Like, I've had to listen to this for like hundreds of years. Like, and then he just does the same thing over again. And he's like, I'm going to give you the choice I never had. And I was like, make him. I want this Thelma and Louise, like two vampires driving off on the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, I want this film. Like, where's this film? Like, so bad. And then we just close with the amazing Guns N' Roses, Sympathy for the Devil, Rolling Stones
I love
cover,
that cover. That's amazing.
So good, right? It's like the best way to end it.
Yeah.
And that was my whole like walk through the story. And I have like, you know, some notes for fashion, but it's kind of like period fashion. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. I love all of the corsets and the big dresses. I kind of wish like somehow that would like come back in style, but
well, it is.
No, you don't.
You know,
yeah, corsets are coming back. Yeah.
I don't. We can't breathe.
Well,
we can't have those. Not with Matt, guys. This
not with
happen. This can't happen now. And low-rise jeans. We've been eating, man. We can't have low-rise jeans now. That's.
They're gonna come back whether you like it or not.
It's gonna be on pause.
I'm so scared.
It's gotta have to be on pause. Like, it has to be. I just wrote like the gun song at the end. Fashion. And then I was just like, I love Brad Pitt's suit in the current times.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
When he's sitting in the room.
He looks really good.
Chain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 90s, that shape. It's, and
with the pad.
And also with his long hair, it's just so cool.
God,
I just love, I love that period so much. Like, all the white shirts that Lestat wears, you know, like on bottom.
Oh yeah, the ruffles.
Like really 17th century. And I didn't know who did the costume design until obviously when you were doing the podcast, but when I was watching it, I thought it has to be an English person doing this, because I'm not saying that someone who's in English, obviously, like, they're able to do research and everything, but in order to do period films and stuff like this woman who's just so talented, she's done basically every major film. Like, she's done The Favourite, she did The Aviator, she did Shakespeare in Love, and she's done like so many films by Scorsese as well. So, you know, she's incredible. She went to St. Martin's, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I feel that obviously you let's say someone who's from LA is obviously can do research and everything, right? But when you live in the UK, you have access to so much more, like research on another level to produce and design the costumes that she made, you know?
Yeah, because the country's older.
Yeah, and also...
And you have that advantage.
You have, like, places like the V&A, and you have, like, museums and galleries and libraries and everything, and you're able to have, like, all these incredible references. So I just think she's just so inspiring. Like, everything, like, her career is just wow, you know?
Yeah, Sandy Powell.
Yeah.
I just looked her up.
And also she has, like, a really unique style, and I love that about her too. It's very, like, 80s, like, power dressing, and, like, cool. She's just, like, a cool person, basically, and she's so talented. I feel like, you know, being a stylist is one thing. You're putting things together. Like, being a costume designer is on another level, like, craft, you know, because she's actually designing these costumes.
Yeah, that's crazy. And she also has worked with the director Neil Jordan, who's Irish, before. I think also the director being Irish definitely helped out a lot as well.
For the vision of the film. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like everything.
And they've worked together before. They've worked together on, like, 5 other projects.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
I just love the production and, like, the set design, and everything is just, like, really spot on, really.
Yeah, it was. Jules, do you have anything? Or we're going to go to favorite scenes?
Ooh, let's go to favorite scenes.
Okay, Jules, you go. What are your favorite scenes?
Oh gosh. We've talked about it so much, but I really love Kristen Dunst when she, you know, she's really dealing with this tragedy of being a full-grown woman in a child's body. Like, to me, it was just so strong, and it leaves an impression. It's gonna be my favorite.
Oh, you just have one?
That's the only one. I'm gonna keep going.
Oh, I was like, I've heard like a bunch. I'll just narrow mine down. What are you?
I didn't write down any notes, so I'm just like,
oh, you're
trying
just
to remember.
Oh wow, you're
I'm just winging it today.
Oh wow.
Hey everyone, Jules is winging it. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
That's one of my favorites too. Just that whole sequence where she's just like really frustrated with being a vampire and knowing that she's not going to ever be or look like a woman, you know, like her body's not going to change and stuff. So I love that. I honestly love so many. I just don't think I can go over all of them, but I love it when she kills Lestat. It's very like she's basically planned it very carefully, you know, like she got the twins who obviously are already dead, and then she slits his throat, and
it's pretty intense.
That's what I meant. Like, how can a young actor do that, right? It's just,
and he's like bleeding all. Yeah, it's all like intense, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I just love so many, but yeah, you go next.
Let's see. I have my favorite is I really like when Lestat takes Louis hunting in the beginning, and he like describes like the aristocrats, like he likes this type, he likes like society guys, he likes like he kind of talks about like which ones he likes to hunt. And then I like when he's like can read people's thoughts, and he like knows that this woman like had her husband murdered, and he's just very kind of like, yeah. And I just like how he kind of, I like how each one of them hunts. Like my another favorite scene is when Claudia hunts when she gets older, and it's like that whole sequence of like when she wants a doll.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, "Oh no, you're too young, you can't have this." And the next time you see her, she like has this doll. And just like you just and she's just like killing people left and right. And then I love when I think she kills the seamstress or oh no, it's when she has the woman like in her bed.
Oh yeah, she hides
and
it
then
under
like
the dolls.
and they find it, and then he's just like, "Get rid of it," and then she's like, "You get rid of it." And she's like just so like surly. And then I also love when she cuts her hair and it grows back, and then she just starts screaming, and then he's just like, "Yeah, it's gonna keep growing back." And that's when she like realizes, and she like cuts his face, and it like seals up, and then she like realizes like, oh my gosh, I'm like stuck, like I'm frozen. Like, I'm going to be the same forever. And he's just like, yeah. And then, I love their relationship a lot, Lestat and Claudia. Like, the way it starts and then the way it like, devolves so quickly.
Yeah.
I
agree. That whole sequence, same for me. I do also really like when he comes back, when Lestat comes back to the house just before they leave.
Yeah.
And he's playing the piano, and it's like a really beautiful song, and it's just like really dramatic and epic, I love that.
And he looks all gross, like he's been in the swamp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and just the entire monologue that goes on right there is like, that's when I think that was the moment. Like I was already very, I was already sold on the movie, but when it hits that monologue, I'm like, okay, this was the right decision to have him play this character.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
and he learned
piano
for the
really.
Yeah, I'll send you guys, and I'll put it in the post I'll make on the website. But there's a really interesting interview on YouTube, and he talks about like he didn't play piano, but he learned like 2 or 3 songs for the movie so that he could actually play them. So
wow!
So I was like, wow, impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah, that's cool. And then my other one was just the end when Louis and Lestat meet again that we talked about.
Okay.
Like in the New World.
I think my other favorite is when everything that happens since Claudia and that other woman get killed, they're put in the hole, and like how they just turn into dust, I suppose.
Oh yeah, the ash.
Yeah, and from there, then Louis finds them, and then he kills all the vampires. It's just like really insane. Just crazy. Like he kills everyone. I love everything that happens from that point onwards. Really.
Yeah, because he's like totally broken again, and this is like almost happened again. Like he's lost like another like child, and like it's like he just can't seem to like find any solace. It seems like he's even alone at the end.
Yeah,
like he's still alone. So there is a book that is the Lestat Chronicles, which is like a prequel, which I have not read. I did own this book a long time ago, and I started it when I was really young, but I have no idea what happened to it. But I'm actually really interested to actually read this book, and I really want to read Lestat's because I wish they'd made a Lestat movie with Tom Cruise. I think that would have been really cool if they did, but it's great that they didn't. So
yeah, that's kind of, I think why like Queen of the Damned was so corny, because that's supposed to be Lestat.
I know, but it's not like in that world. I mean, if they'd made it in this world. Yeah,
totally different world.
But it's like it's crazy, and let's hope they don't do a remake. Let's hope this is it for a while. But yeah, that about wraps it up. Oh my god, again, I forgot to say like and subscribe. If you made it this far, just rate it. Just rate the podcast. I'm gonna have to make some kind of like trailer bumper that I just put in like after the music, so that it just goes like and subscribe, and then I'll just start the show so I don't have to do it anymore. But yeah, it's been so fun, guys. I'm really excited.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, dude, this is super fun. I mean, what else are we doing to pass the time? This is a great marker for these times when we can go back and listen to them and just shooting the shit and people like listening to it. So cool.
Plus, I feel like we're hanging out, and I obviously miss you guys, so it's quite nice to do this together. It's like our little thing,
Yeah, it's really cool to have a film to watch and talk about, and Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see listeners comment on what other movies they'd like us to talk about.
Yeah, I should do like some type of poll, or I'll do the questions. Someone did say Singles and Clerks. Those were like two. Cool. Clerks, does anyone know Clerks or Singles? Singles is very grunge appropriate. It's about it's kind of like a rom-com by Cameron Crowe set in 92 Seattle. But Pearl Jam is in it, and I believe Chris Cornell is also in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of topical, like, if we were to do it. Yeah, we could do that. That's an option. But I'll do a question on Instagram, and because I did the polls before, I'll do another one on Facebook.
Awesome.
People vote in those, so cool. Well, we will see you all on the next one.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.